Hi, I'm Bart Hanson. I'm the owner and lead instructor for CrushLivePoker.com. The following hand comes from our call-in show that we record live at 2 p.m. Eastern Time every Monday. If you enjoy this video, hit that like button, and if you want to submit to be on the show, take a look at the information in the description. All right, next caller here. Dan in Michigan. What's up, Dan?
Hey, what's up, Bart?
How's it going?
Good. Hey, you forgot I'm in Indianapolis now.
Oh, Indianapolis. My bad.
Yeah, I asked you this question on the email, and it may seem like kind of a silly question, but the question I had was basically lately I've been running bad, and a lot of the tables, especially online, it seems like if you get and I notice it sometimes live too, but if you get a table that's running bad and like you rebuy, and then I've done this before where it's a good table, and so I don't want to leave. But, you rebuy 3 times and you get set over set and flush over flush, and, you're just running bad. It just seems like sometimes the cards are just not in your favor, and it's just best to get up from that table, period. Just wondering what your thoughts are on that. I kind of feel like sometimes it's like blackjack, where if you got a bad run of cards, there's just nothing you can do. You should just get up and leave.
Well, are you talking about online and live, basically?
Yeah, both.
Well, I'm going to give you the professional gambler answer. There's a couple of different things here going on. So in terms of poker, I actually am a very large proponent of the idea in live poker of an image issue. So this is sort of a short-term mental game question. Like, can we be running bad in the short term and want to get up and leave? So I think that a lot of people look at this in the wrong way when they look at talking about duration of session. So obviously the sessions that you want to play your longest are the ones where you're actually winning and you're not stuck. And possibly the sessions that you want to cut short are the ones that you are stuck. Now, I have to preface this. This does not have anything to do with the randomness of cards or anything like that. It has to do with your image in terms of winning not at showdown. Also, Dan, I would say, and this was especially the case even in my 1500 cap game at Commerce, when you are playing restricted buy and no limit. Now, this does not apply here where I live in Texas now because it's match the stack. But when you are playing restricted buy and no limit, especially sort of medium to large games that are heavily restricted, and I'm specifically talking about like in LA, like the 5-5 500 cap game at Hollywood Park or 5-5 500 cap game at Commerce, the more money you win and the larger stack that you have, the more your hourly will go up because you will be able to get deeper with other opponents. So whenever you're playing in a capped game, if I'm in a capped game and I've been there for 12 hours, there's a really, really good chance that my hourly in hour 12 and 13 is going to be way higher than what it is at average. That's why I'm still there, because I have a lot of chips and maybe somebody else has a lot of chips or something like that. Now, getting back to the image thing, what I would say is that, and you can express this any way you want. Like, I wouldn't say, it's not that you're necessarily getting a bad run of cards, but you are somewhat hindered by the fact that everyone around you in the short term sees that you are losing. So some of the things that add to your profitability just won't work, like non-showdown wins. And I really, really believe that to be the case. For some people too, they don't necessarily play as well when they're losing. They start to tilt. Sometimes people will play sloppy when they win. I have to take a small exception though with your blackjack analogy, because in blackjack, it is irrelevant for you to walk away from the table in blackjack because the dealer is bad. If it's a different shoe, you could certainly walk away in blackjack in the middle of a shoe because the deck is bad. Because in blackjack, you get to see what's come out. So even though the cards are random, if you're counting or even somewhat just observing, that the rest of the deck could be bad. The rest of the shoe could be bad because all the tens and aces are already out. But once they change the shoe, it's not like, oh, I'm going to stop playing if I'm playing for comps or something like this because this dealer is killing me. The cards are randomized. So that's how we want to look at it from a a for-profit perspective, it's not necessarily that it's a bad run of cards. I can't win at this table because I'm unlucky. It's maybe I'm going to leave because the players around me have seen that I'm losing and I can't do some of the things that add to my profitability in the game, in the game, because my image is shot. That's how I would look at it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So
yeah, I just feel like when the cards are just against you, it's like, geez, if they're against you, they're against you. There's just nothing you can do. It some days it just just time to get up from that table, basically.
Yeah, and I don't. Do you play in restricted buy-in games? I assume sometimes too, right?
Yeah, I mean 5,000 buy-in. I mean typically.
So yeah, I mean, it's 2,000 buy-in, so that's pretty deep, anyways. But I think you understand what I'm talking about. Where if you're in like if you were playing a 300 cap game, and you've got 3 or 4 guys with idiots with $1,000 at the table, right? And and they strictly enforce the cap, and you need to work your way up to $1,000 to cover these guys. This is when you're sitting with $1,000, your hourly is going to be higher than when you're sitting with 300. That's somebody asked me that in the live chat there too. So
because
you can win. Well, because you're sitting deeper with worse players, right? So your hourly is going to be higher sitting there in terms of dollars, right? And sitting there 1,000 effective with really bad players, as opposed to sitting there with 300 effective, right? So that's really where I like to push my long sessions. I think it's whatever, like I said, I think you can manifest this or say the language however you want to say it. Like I remember that old guy that called in, Steven, from a few months ago, and he said that like I was up in the session, so I called with this hand versus I'm down, and I was trying to tell him, well, that doesn't necessarily really matter, but sometimes people will do the right thing and not be able to necessarily express it, the right way. Here, I think it's just, if it's not your night and you feel like the shitty cards that you are getting dealt, you're getting a bad run of variance, and it's making you play worse, and it's also affecting your image. Yeah, I would say get up and leave. I'm all for that.
Right. Yeah, sometimes I wonder though. The other side of that is, of course, I have a bad image, so I know they're going to pay me if I ever get a hand.
Well, that is definitely true. What's interesting about that too, Dan, is I've said this sometimes too in my material, is that sometimes when you have a really, really bad image, you don't want to bluff. You want to go for extreme value. And what I've actually found sometimes is that when you have a very, very good image, when you have a really, really good image, you sometimes actually need to pull back a little bit on your value bets because people aren't actually calling you enough, where you sometimes actually even have to have a little bit of a stronger hand when you have a really good image to value bet, because people are just giving you so much respect that thin value bet isn't going to get called by worse. But of course you can ramp up the non-showdown type of winnings. So anyways, I appreciate the call. Thank you very much, Dan. I hope that was a help. If you like what you've seen here, please hit the subscribe button. And if you enjoyed this call in hand, hit the like button down below. To check out crushlivepoker.com, click on the link in the description. Use the code YTA300 to get the first 30 days for free.